Hi everybody, Tom here. A customer request that we've had come in this week around how to update an employee's fixed compensation and how to do that in bulk for a large number of employees after the pay review process. For this particular customer, their pay review process still happens largely off of talent, and the end result of that is a large spreadsheet with worker IDs in it and then their new salary. So we're going to look at how we're going to take that data and use the Excel add-in to upload that to create new compensation plans. Okay, here we go. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to start within the default dashboard here in Talent, and as you'd expect, I'm working in a trial environment, so what you're about to see isn't genuine customer data. I'm going to jump into the compensation management workspace, and I'm going to assume that we're going to apply the change to the employees that we have on the grade E plan. Just going to jump in and check my data. So we've got 11 employees on this plan, and I'm going to make sure that one of the employees that I'm going to change is within the limits of their grade, so I know this change will go through. Now obviously you know the business rules in your business, so you'll have done this check beforehand, but just for the sake of demo I'm going to do it manually. So we've picked Oscar, we've gone into the compensation tab, we can see the grade and the level that he's on, we can see his current annual salary, and we're just going to check that the level that Oscar's on within his grade has a higher limit which is higher than his current salary, so we can afford to apply an increase. So he was on just over 90k. You can see the maximum for that particular level is just over 100k, so we can safely apply an increase of at least 5 grand. Okay, I'm going to close all of that now and just go back to the worker list, and I'm going to go from the compensation management workspace into the sysadmin workspace. And from the sysadmin workspace I will click on the links page and find the menu item for the Office integration and open Excel Workbook Designer. So this is just one way of getting into the Excel add-in with the right data entity connected. There are obviously several other different ways of doing this. This is just the one that I've chosen to use for this demo. I'm going to scroll down the list because I can never quite remember what the entity I need is called. Where is it? So we've got, there we go, comp fixed emp, or employee fixed compensation. I'm just going to move all of the available fields into selected. I just find it easier to work with if I'm seeing the whole picture. You could obviously just take the essential fields and it'll still work, but personally I just find it easier to work with if I'm seeing everything. So once I've got all of the available fields moved over into selected, I can go ahead and create the workbook. Hit download there, and I'm in Chrome, so the download experience I get is this file in the bottom left hand corner. Open that in Excel, hit enable editing, and you can see that the worksheet opens and the Excel add-in opens here on the right hand side. Now this will connect to my talent environment. It will go ahead and get the data which is in that entity, and there you go, there you can see everything. So we're going to filter because we're only looking at a particular grade here. And I'd recommend that where you can, you do this sort of change in fairly small groups because it makes troubleshooting easier if you do encounter any errors. So we're going to take the employees who are in grade E, and I'm going to filter once again just to find Oscar. And there we go, we can see he's worker number 53 and we can see his salary there. Now pro tip, I'm just going to take the data that I'm going to change in bulk, copy that out of my source spreadsheet into a separate spreadsheet, and all that's doing is just creating kind of a replica, just showing me what the history was. If I do experience any errors or I need to go back and undo anything, obviously I'll have the history ideally, but this spreadsheet just gives me an extra backup. So that table here is not connected to talent, it's just acting as a backup. So for Oscar, we're going to make sure we are only changing the end dates of records that are still active. So we don't want to go and fiddle out with anything which is already expired. But in order to change these records, we first of all have to expire the existing record. So we take the existing records and we set an expiry date on those records. So I'm setting these to expire on the 30th of June 2019. If you try and create a new record before doing this, you'll just hit a date error because the date validation will fail and it will say that you've got 2 records concurrently on the same date and it won't upload. So there we go, I've updated that end date to the 30th of June. I'll unfilter everything, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit publish, and I'm going to publish those end dates back into Talent. Now this takes a few seconds usually. It's quite large scale data, a lot of different tables affected that it's working with, and obviously there's a lot of validation that goes on. So once that's published, we get a confirmation message that the publish has been successful and the workbook's been updated. So we're just going to go back and validate that now within Talent. We'll go back into the compensation management workspace. We'll jump back into our list and you'll see grade E there is now showing us having 0 employees. Now what that really means is there are no employees with an active compensation plan of that type. And that's because we just expired it in the past. So the 30th of June is before the creation date of this video. So Oscar, his compensation plan expired at the end of last month. And if we just go into his record, go into compensation, look at his fixed plan, you'll see there that his previous record expired on the 30th of June and the status there has been updated to expired. So this is entirely expected. This is what we were hoping to see. So what I'm going to now do is go and create a new compensation record for Oscar with his new record. Now loading in this way will create a new compensation action which will give him a new compensation line on the compensation screen which is date effective. So I'm actually going to cheat slightly and I'm going to take the old record for Oscar, hit new in my table here and just paste that old line. And now I need to just update that for the new compensation value. So the position and the worker IDs are still the same, but I'm going to use a merit action. I'm going to reset the start date to be the 1st of July 2019, which is the date after we expired the old record. I'm going to update the review type, the process type, with annual rather than non-cyclical. And I'm going to set that end date, there we go, 31/12/2154, that's what we expect it to be, and set his new salary value. Everything else I'm happy with, that looks fine to me, so I'm just going to hit publish. Bit quicker this time, and you can see that the workbook has been published and updated. Back into Oscar's record, hit refresh there on the screen, and you can see the new compensation line has been completed for Oscar, created. And the old one is still expired and the new one is now active with the new start date and the new salary value, and you can see that the percentage increase there has been automatically calculated based on the old value. Now obviously you could at this point come back into the spreadsheet. You can change more than one record at once. If you want to, you could change this entire set. You just need to do the same date activities and the same uploads as we did with Oscar, but just with a larger group of workers. I'd always be a little bit wary with doing it with particularly large groups because, as I said, it makes troubleshooting a little bit difficult. But as you can see, it's very, very easy to just take the end result of your salary review and upload the details into Talent using the Excel add-in. And that's really all there is to it. So as you can see, there are 4 steps to that process. The first thing to do is open the compensation, employee fixed compensation entity in the Excel add-in. Then you need to expire the old records to avoid date and concurrency errors when you try and upload the new one. Then you need to prep your new data. I recommend doing that in a separate Excel sheet to the add-in and then copying and pasting those new values into the spreadsheet which is connected to Talent. And then the final step is just to publish that back in. Pro tip, break it down into smaller groups if you can to help yourself out if you have any issues that you need to troubleshoot along the way. It's always easier to do those with small groups rather than massive groups of sort of 500 plus. Other than that, you're good to go. Enjoy.